a lot stronger, and I think he's going to have endurance. Not being able to boil himself down, even though it is a huge jump. I think we lose sight of how much he had to boil down and how gaunt he looked for you.
So obviously, Crawford is bigger. Right. Crawford is heavy. Like, he carries himself. He's solid right now. He's taller. You've seen the face off, so he is technically big.
Hello, I'm looking at this thing. I'm like, so let me look at Canelo's perspective and the experience of being in the ring with guys that are long and fast. What we've seen come from Canelo is the pace. Something that I know from my own personal experience, a guy that shows a lot of patience and you don't bother him by winning. I don't think Canelo's gonna get bothered.
Andre Ward has issued a clear warning to Canelo Alvarez, highlighting the looming threat posed by Terence Crawford. He points out that while Canelo remains one of the best fighters in the world today, subtle signs of decline are beginning to show, such as a lower punch output and reflexes that aren't quite as sharp as before. Ward emphasizes that Canelo's skills and craftiness are still elite, but stresses that facing Crawford is an entirely different challenge.
But I'm really not moving up in weight. I'm just not whittle myself down. So I think that Terence is going to be a lot stronger, and I think he's going to have better endurance. Not being able to boil himself down like that, it is a huge jump. I think we lose sight of the fact of how much he had to boil and how gaunt he looked at one, and even quickly at 147. It got to the point where you start to cut into muscle mass. If you know anything about weight loss, at a certain point, affects you. In a boxing, wrestling, and MMA are the only sports where you have to tear down for 2 months or 3 months, not just training, but the weight loss. And then you have less than or right around 20 hours to put it back on. You need to go be great the next night. Everybody else to play or compete at their raw weight or their playing weight. So I think that's going to favor Terence Crawford is not having to boil down 25. It's probably going to be about 10 to 12.
What do you make of the state of Canelo right now? Because it does seem like he's received a little bit of heat, and I think the last performance was somewhat warranted because like the output was historically low. But to me, I felt like he knew. So sitting there in the front row in Riyadh, why would you even put yourself in risk when you've got this gigantic fight waiting for you? Like, just get the win over Skull, move the belts, and you get the big fight. How much do you chalk it up to? The motivation there because the opponents aren't on his level, or maybe getting older and, as you know, Father Time is undefeated.
Great question. I think a couple of things are true. I think number one, I think Father is catching up to Canelo. It's not subtle. It's a less punch out than normal. Maybe flexes have weaned just a little bit. He's still than most fighters in the world today.
Brian Mendoza, an American junior middleweight boxer, believes Canelo Alvarez holds the edge over Terence Crawford not only because of his size, but also due to his experience and skill. While Mendoza acknowledges Crawford's exceptional talent and success against elite opponents, he stresses that weight classes exist for a reason. In his view, Canelo's long career competing in higher divisions gives him a natural comfort at 168 pounds, a level Crawford cannot easily match. Recognizing Crawford's greatness, Mendoza ultimately leans toward Canelo.
We gonna finish this thing strong. We're gonna get Brian Mendoza's perspective of what you think about Alvarez versus Terence Crawford.
It's so like every day I'm almost kind of changing my opinion, but at the end of the day, I lean towards Canelo because of the size. Yeah. But I know the size thing isn't so obvious. I guess Crawford is bigger.
Right.
Crawford is heavy. Like he carries himself. He's very solid right now. He's taller. When you've seen the face off, so he is technically. It's just the size is very different when you carry that ring. That's what you got to worry about in weight. And just based off kind of like the performance at 150, although it was against a solid fighter with Madrimov, I don't gonna be solid enough. Used to carry weight around at 68. So that's the reason I lean towards Canelo, but the skill-wise, everything else obviously still more. Yeah. So that's where it is. So I just lean towards Canelo. At the end of the day, you got to respect the weight.
It's been real heavy on this fight. We've been talking about it for a couple, and I feel like every time I've spoken about Canelo, the only thing I'm talking about is. So I said, you know what? Today I'm gonna flip the script. Today it's all about me, and I might break your heart in the process, but I got to keep it real. Right. This is a 50-50 fight. This is a fight where I was telling the Uber driver this morning, these guys, them both make mistakes in the ring, but they've never cost them, right? This is the first fight that they both have are going to get in the ring where the small mistake is actually a big mistake against the opposer.
Jeff Horn, the former WBO welterweight champion who stunned the boxing world by defeating Manny Pacquiao in 2017, has issued a stern warning to Canelo Alvarez about the dangers of facing Terence Crawford. Horn acknowledges that Canelo's power, size, and experience could give him an early advantage, predicting that he may come out aggressively and use his physical strength to push Crawford onto the back foot. However, he emphasizes that Crawford thrives on making adjustments, and once he settles into the rhythm, he becomes extremely difficult to stop. With his timing, precision, and ability to switch styles mid-fight, Crawford is one of the most dangerous finishers in the sport today. Horn warns that if Canelo fails to end the fight early, the later rounds will shift heavily in Crawford's favor, as his stamina, counter-punching ability, and composure under pressure can systematically break opponents down. Ultimately, Horn sides with Crawford, arguing that while Canelo
I favor Canelo a lot, but I do favor him. I think that, you know, Skull fight was just a bad style. And I think Canelo was like the issue. You know what I mean? I'm up. This guy's running. I'm not gonna take a chance. So I think that it was that kind of fight for Canelo. But Mark did give Crawford problems. You know what I'm saying? And where I felt like, damn, at 54 he gave you problems. 68 is different. You know what I'm saying? So you going up 3 weight classes, 47, 54, 60, 68, that's 3 weight classes. Major difference, man. And you know, one thing is like, right, so people Canelo has problems with movers. Reality is Crawford's not a mover. Crawford's not a fighter that fights feet in the sense of boxing, kind of like, let's say, how a Canelo would box or how Andy Lara would box. Crawford is a fighter that works on angles. He's not his feet like Muhammad Ali. You know what I'm saying? He's not that kind of boxer. So he's going to be there to get hit, you know? And I feel like that favors Canelo. Canelo's going to hit you in the arms. He's going to hit you in the elbows. He's going to hit anything you give him, he's going to take it. You know what I mean? And now, is Crawford just going to style and become a mover, moving up weight classes? So now you're going to put all that weight on your legs, and you never boxed like that before. How can you do that?
Teddy Atlas, one of boxing's most respected trainers and longtime analysts, firmly rejects the criticism surrounding Terence Crawford's performance against Israil Madrimov at 154 pounds. While many fans and commentators use that fight to argue Crawford cannot handle naturally bigger opponents like Canelo Alvarez, Atlas calls such assumptions shallow and short-sighted. He stresses that it was Crawford's first fight in a new weight class, and history shows that even great fighters need time to fully adjust when moving up. Success, he explains, isn't just about carrying skills to a higher division, it also requires mastering timing, range, and conditioning while adapting to the extra weight without losing speed or explosiveness. Crawford's ability to overcome Madrimov's physical strength in his debut already proved his versatility, and with that experience behind him, Atlas expects him to be sharper, more fluid, and far more dangerous in future fights.
So I avoided that. I would bring in specific sparring partners that knew how to be a sparring partner. Yeah, if I wanted something, I went over to him before the day started. Listen, I want you to do this. All right, Ted. I'm paying the right to do that. I want you to move more today. I want you to, you know what? I want you to press him a little. You know what? There was a fight I was getting a guy ready for, and I was worried about a couple rounds. So I said, when the bell rings, I want you to rush out of the corner and go right after him. And I was, obviously I had my guy ready because we were ready for that kind of fight plan, for the possibility that the opponent would come out that way. So I wouldn't look to get a boots at us. I mean, nothing wrong with that's fine. But, and I get it, the style, the size, length. I understand. It's not a bad pick from that point of view. But for me, again, I never go down that road because I got my guy getting ready for a fight. I don't want to leave it in the gym. I don't want to get into that kind of one. No, I want to have control of all aspects of what I'm doing in the gym to get ready for one night. No, I wouldn't do that. I'd get the right spar partners If I thought I had a guy, I get guys that my guy could work with, and if he was an off day, he could kind of, you know, have his way and do what he wanted. I'd have one of them. I'd probably have sometimes 4, depending with the calendar when the fight was coming.